You are paying a tax right now, and you never signed up for it. Gravity charges you every second you're upright, whether you're standing in line, sitting at your desk, or just holding your phone up to watch this. The moment you lie down, that tax stops. Your body stops spending energy to fight the pull of the planet. Stand back up, and the meter starts running again. Here's what that tax actually looks like inside you. Your spine has a column of small muscles running along it called the erector spinae, and they never fully switch off while you're upright. They fire continuously in tiny bursts, correcting your posture thousands of times an hour without you noticing a single one. Your calves do the same job from below. There's a muscle in there called the soleus, and physiologists actually call it the anti-gravity muscle because its entire purpose is fighting the sway of your body so you don't tip forward with every step. Even your diaphragm, the muscle that runs your breathing, works harder against gravity when you're upright than when you're lying flat because it's now lifting against a stacked column of organs instead of just moving air. None of this is exercise in the way you think of exercise. It's rent. You pay it just to remain vertical. Think of it like an app running in the background on your phone. You're not using it, you didn't open it on purpose, but it's still quietly draining the battery all day. Your postural muscles work the same way. Small, constant, invisible contractions, spending energy non-stop just to keep the structure upright. There's actual science behind how much this background tax adds up to. Researchers have a term for all the energy you burn that isn't formal exercise, called non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT for short. Standing burns noticeably more than sitting, and sitting burns noticeably more than lying down, purely from the muscle work needed to hold that posture. Someone who stands through most of their day can burn a meaningfully higher number of calories than someone sitting the same number of hours, without either of them doing a single, deliberate workout. That's the tax collecting itself in the background, whether you're paying attention to it or not. So here's the obvious next question. If standing already burns energy and works muscle, why isn't standing enough? Why do people who stand at work all day still lose strength and still need to train? The answer is that your body is brutally efficient, and efficiency is not the same as strength. Give your body a fixed, repeated demand, and it will adapt to do exactly that demand and nothing more. Standing asks your postural muscles for a small, steady load. Your body responds by getting extremely good at producing exactly that small, steady load, and it stops investing energy into building reserve capacity beyond it. You become efficient at standing. You do not become strong. This is where the tax metaphor breaks down in an important way, and it's worth understanding why. Standing pays the minimum tax owed. It does not build equity. Real training, the kind that adds resistance beyond what daily life demands, is the only thing that forces your body to build a surplus. Extra muscle fiber, extra bone density, extra capacity sitting in reserve for the day you actually need it. We have direct proof of what happens when that surplus building signal disappears completely. Astronauts in orbit float in microgravity, and gravity's tax essentially drops to zero. Within weeks, without serious intervention, they lose measurable bone density and muscle mass because their bodies detect the missing load and start dismantling tissue it no longer considers necessary. NASA now has astronauts training for roughly 2 hours a day on the space station specifically to fight this, using resistance bands and a machine that simulates weightlifting, because standing normally on Earth was doing more anti-atrophy work than anyone realized until it was gone. You don't need to leave the planet to see this effect. Hospital researchers have tracked what happens to otherwise healthy people put on strict bed rest for research purposes, and the results follow the same pattern on a smaller scale. Just days of lying flat with the gravity tax essentially suspended produces measurable loss of muscle strength and size, especially in the legs and lower back, the exact muscles that would normally be doing the most rent paying while upright. The body doesn't wait around wondering if the tissue might be needed again someday. It starts cutting costs almost immediately. There's a principle in bone physiology called WOLFF's law, and it applies to muscle almost as directly as it applies to bone. Tissue remodels itself based on the load placed on it. Load it consistently beyond its current capacity, and it gets denser and stronger. Remove the load or keep it constant and unchallenging, and the tissue reads that as permission to shrink. Your skeleton and your muscles are both running the same background calculation at all times. How much am I actually being asked to carry, and how much can I get away with reducing? This is also why a desk job feels exhausting despite involving almost no physical effort. Sitting still doesn't lower your gravity tax to zero the way lying down does. Your spine still has to hold your torso upright against a chair for 8 hours, using small stabilizing contractions the entire time, but at a load too low and too repetitive to build anything. You're spending energy on upkeep with zero return on investment. That's the specific kind of tired that comes from sitting all day, not the good tired from effort that built something, the flat tired from paying rent on a body that never got the chance to grow stronger. It's worth remembering that this arrangement is fairly new for a species that's been upright for a couple million years. Chairs, in the form most people sit in today, are a recent invention. Go back further, or look at cultures where people still rest in a deep squat instead of a chair, and you find populations asking their hips, ankles, and lower backs to do far more work throughout an ordinary day just from how they choose to rest. The tax didn't change. The amount people voluntarily pay towards strength instead of just maintenance did. There's a sensory system tied into all of this that almost nobody talks about, called proprioception. These are the sensors embedded in your muscles and joints that constantly report your body's position back to your brain without you consciously checking. It's how you can close your eyes and still touch your nose or catch yourself the instant before a stumble. Proprioception is what allows those postural muscles to fire correctly in the first place, adjusting your balance in real time based on constant feedback. Sedentary living dulls this system the same way it dulls muscle. Move deliberately and with variety, different angles, different loads, single leg balance, and you sharpen proprioception the same way training sharpens strength. A sharper system reacts faster when your foot catches an uneven curb, and that split-second reaction is often the actual difference between a stumble and a fall. So the goal isn't to escape the gravity tax. You can't. Every second you're upright, you're paying it, and that's fine, because that ongoing payment is part of what keeps your postural system online in the first place. The goal is to occasionally pay more than the minimum on purpose so your body has a reason to build surplus capacity instead of just meeting the daily bill. Here's how you do that in 10 minutes. 5 movements aimed directly at the muscles carrying your gravity tax every day. Start with a wall sit, held for 60 seconds, loading your quads and glutes far past what standing demands, breathing steadily through your nose the whole time instead of holding your breath. Move into a glute bridge, 60 seconds of reps, targeting the muscles standing barely uses because standing rarely asks your hips to work this hard. Then a Superman hold, chest and legs lifted off the floor, 60 seconds, directly overloading those erector spinae muscles that spend all day firing gently and never firing hard. Follow that with a dead bug, 60 seconds, training your deep core stabilizers with a level of control your spine never gets from just standing upright. Finish with a set of standing single leg balances, 30 seconds each side, sharpening the proprioception that keeps you upright without conscious thought. Run through the entire sequence twice. 10 minutes, no equipment, floor space only. If you're new to this, don't worry about holding these perfectly still. A wobbly wall sit still overloads your quads well past the standing minimum. A shaky single leg balance still sends your proprioceptive system more information than it gets from a normal day of walking on flat ground. The overload is what matters, not the elegance of it. As you get stronger, you don't need new movements, you just need to make the same 5 harder. Slow the wall sit down by starting from a full squat instead of a static hold. Add a pause at the top of each glute bridge. Extend the Superman hold to 90 seconds instead of adding weight. The muscles carrying your gravity tax respond to more demanding versions of the same load, not necessarily different exercises entirely. Here's your pro tip. Pick one moment you're already upright and doing nothing productive with your leg, waiting for the kettle, brushing your teeth, on a work call, and turn it into a 30-second wall sit or a set of calf raises. You're not adding new time to your day. You're converting minutes you were already spending on the minimum gravity tax into minutes spent building a surplus instead. Do that 2 or 3 times a day on top of the 10-minute routine, and you've turned an unavoidable bill into an investment. You were always going to pay this tax. Every second you're upright today, tomorrow, for the rest of your life. Gravity is going to charge you for it. The only real choice is whether you spend that time just meeting the bill or whether you occasionally pay in enough extra to come out ahead.